To order the Chowder Township of Oxford Zoning Board of Appeals special meeting for July 15, 2019. If everyone please stand and pay respects to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Secretary, please note the roll.
Noted.
To approval of the agenda. Motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
And seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. To approval, item number 5, which is the approval of our regular meeting from June 10th, 2019.
I make a motion that we approve the zoning board minutes of June 10th, 2019.
Second.
Motion and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on to item number 6. This item is for items not on this evening's agenda. Anyone in the audience that wishes to speak on an item that's not on tonight's agenda, please come forward. Seeing none, we'll close that item and move on to item 7A, which is ZBA 02.19, 615 Drainer Circle. Understand that the applicant for this project has requested this postponed until next month. I'm not sure what we need to do with that. Do we need to motion on that or just accept it and move forward? Okay. Okay. So we're noted on that. We'll postpone that till next month's meeting, which is August 12th. So 7B, ZBA 03.19, 29 Minnetonka Drive, parcel 04-26-302-019. The applicant is Consumers Energy Company, 1945 West Parnell, Jackson, Michigan, 49201. Proposed construction of a 216 square foot building for natural gas regulatory station. Subject parcel is located in an O zoning district. Approval of this application as submitted will require a variance according to the zoning ordinance 67A, article 3.7, schedule of district regulations. Before we get started, I'm going to go through the process. It's a 10-step process. If we will make a statement, we'll open the public hearing. We'll take comments, any questions from the public. We'll close the public hearing. We'll have building administrators' comments or planners' comments. Board member questions and comments, we'll receive that. Findings of fact, a motion, board members' discussion and comment, and finally we'll vote. So, the applicant here for that item. Please introduce yourself and explain what's your line.
Mr. Chair, my name is Joe Lawson. I'm representing Consumers Energy. Actually, my office address is 1 Energy Plaza, Jackson, Michigan, 49201. As you mentioned during the introduction, we're here this evening to request actually I think it's 2 setback variances for the parcel at 29 Minnetonka. The facility that's there currently is a gas regulator station, basically a facility that takes our natural gas off of a higher pressure main and decompresses it, if you will, for distribution to homes and businesses. As part of our ongoing improvements to the system statewide, we're now at this point where this facility is scheduled for an update, basically putting in new facilities. In order to do so, as part of our updates, we go through this process and then we actually install these enclosures. Basically, it's like a tool shed, if you will, to house the valves and the regulator itself, basically to protect it from the elements, and also it's a security issue as well. And in this particular case, the parcel in which we're talking about is rather small. It's narrow, and it's on a corner lot, basically having 2 front yards, so we don't meet the setback requirements for the building in the front yard. Off of Minnetonka, we're looking at 8.5 feet off that property line. And then the rear as well, it's supposed to be 25 feet. We're requesting a variance to reduce that to 8.4 feet. So basically, we're not changing the use, we're not intensifying the use by any means. We're just updating it. The staff report that has been provided has a few issues that have been asked to have been addressed by us. I don't believe we have any issues with the recommendations of your consultant. But I'm here obviously to answer any questions that you might have, or
Any questions of the applicant, Ms. Wilson?
Is there proposed, I saw in the plan that it looks like there's barbed wire on top of the chain link?
that's typical. We're under federal guidelines, and that's a recommendation of the federal government. In order for security purposes, it's a 7-foot tall chain link fence with barbed wire, just to keep people out. And I believe it's addressed in the staff report as well. When it comes to landscaping, we ask not to do landscaping because we like to have these visible to the public from the outside. In case somebody did get inside, someone can call 911. We don't want it screened to the point where someone can sneak around and get in there and cause damage or hurt themselves to the equipment, considering what we're doing here.
Is the fence on the property lines all the way around it? Can the fence be moved in?
I'd have to ask the designer.
First of all, there is no barbed wire.
Oh, there's no barbed wire on this one, okay.
Vinyl coated,
It's on the drawing.
no barbed wire, it's vinyl coated chain link fence.
Can I get you on your record? Thank you so much.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
Doug Scott, Rowe Professional Services Company. We're the consultant to prepare the plans for Consumers Energy on that. The fence, just as a correction, the fence is vinyl coated chain link fence with no barbed wire on that. And it's 7 foot high, as Joe mentioned, so.
Is the top of the fence gonna have that 1 foot addition to the post where the barbed wire could be added? Or is the
No.
post gonna be at 7 foot?
No, it is not. It'll just be a 7 foot fence. It won't have the arms coming up.
So is the fence on the property line all the way around the,
With the exception of the front off of Minnetonka, or off of M24, the fence is 1 foot off the property line all the way around. On M24, it's back to 12 foot with the variance there with the easement for the pathway there.
the interest in the fence is aesthetics. Driving down 24, now we got rid of the barbed wire, that was a flag for myself. Now we've got a 7 foot fence that is green color, or what color is it?
Black is what's
Black.
being proposed.
Proposed black, all the way around that. Do you plan any landscaping on 24?
There's none proposed, because right now what's being proposed is a 12-foot easement up front for the township to install, or us to install a bike path at a later time. So we're not proposing to landscape that proposed easement area, or that future easement area.
Can I continue? Mr. Chair,
Yes,
can I continue to ask questions about the?
absolutely, please do.
Can the fence be set off the M24 corridor, set back to allow a little, possibly a green space there for some,
Based on where the valves are, we're
that's what I'm
basically about as far back as we can go with the fence. We have to have so much clearance by design standards from the valve to the fence, so we have a clear area around it for maintenance and in case something should happen. And basically where the valve is, we can't go back any further. We pushed it back as far as we could to give that 12-foot easement area for the future, but that's as far as back as we could go.
the safety path?
Yep.
Is there room between the safety path and the existing fence on your drawing for any type of landscaping?
We're a foot outside of that easement area, the safety path area.
So there's a foot between the edge of the safety path area and the fence?
The easement, I don't know about the pavement, because I don't know where that hasn't been designed yet, where the safety path is going to be, but the easement, we're a foot inside the easement.
Okay. This is the downtown Oxford, people driving through town, they're gonna see this black chain link fence and your buildings behind it, and it's gonna look like a Detroit Edison or Consumer Power facility. I'd like to see if we could cover it up, hide it, if possible. If can't, I understand that. Some of the drawings or the pictures that we have concrete drive-ups to the building. You're gonna put in crushed limestone through the hole.
Within the fenced area, it's all crushed limestone.
So when they open the gates to drive their car in, they're gonna drive on the limestone?
Limestone.
Is that valve being replaced that's close to M24, or is that staying?
The entire site's being renovated or updated. So the valves, all the plumbing, I say plumbing, the piping underground, as well as the above
So
ground.
do I go as far as to say, can the valve be moved to set the fence back to put some landscaping in to cover it up from M24?
It cannot, because the valve has to be so far by law from the regulator, and we're crunched.
Can I say really quick? I don't believe that looking at the drawing, that the fence is set back 12 feet from the property line, and I think that the safety path will go much closer to the street.
Just like the hardware. The hardware store runs right down there and it's right off the street.
Right off the street, so you'll have some space in between the safety path and the fence.
What's the width of the safety, 8 feet, 7 feet?
8 feet.
So, it was 4 feet.
Yeah. 3 or 4.
Where it's not here, so,
Yeah.
it was wrong. Any other questions?
This fence that's going in, how
Sir?
tight of a wire is this? I mean, is this something that's gonna restrict view? Because being that close to M24, cars pulling up aren't gonna be able to see, they're making a left turn, the
It-
traffic, if it's a tight fence.
It'd be a very typical chain link fence, similar to what you would have in your rear yard, or your residential lot, except for this would be black vinyl coated and much taller, obviously, it's a 7-foot fence, as opposed to a 4-foot in a residential setting.
Any other questions?
Are there any accesses to the, other access areas to the area, to this fenced-in area, other than the construction access?
There's the drive gate off of Minnetonka, and right now there's proposed two, what we call a man gate, toward the ACO. We install those similar to a commercial building have a fire exit. We have to have additional means of exit in case people are in there and something should happen. So we install those as well.
And that's on the southeast?
Yeah, there's two on that south-facing fence.
Okay. I see.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
It's now 7:12. I will open this up for public comment. So anyone from the public that wishes to speak on this, please come forward, state your name and your address, and your issue. Good evening.
Hi, my name's Kathy Graham. I live at 79 Minnetonka. I appreciate the concerns of how the site will look from M24. I'm more concerned about how it looks from my house. And so I understand, your need to see the facility, but I would really like to see some landscaping on the side where it faces the houses on Minnetonka. And then my other question is there going to be any increase in noise with the upgrades that you guys are doing? Those are my two main concerns, being a neighbor.
Well, we'll take your comments now, bring them back up to answer.
Perfect, thank you.
Anyone else? So with that, I will close the public hearing at 7:13. If you'd be so kind to come forward, Joe. Here are the two concerns related to the noise and landscaping possibilities. What do you think? What's your response?
The response to the landscaping on that'd be with the west side, going down Minnetonka, the fence is basically up against the property line, so there's no room for additional landscaping on that particular side, or on any of the sides. And we don't install landscaping within the fence. We don't want to add fuel to the fire, if you will, if something were to happen. And it's also, we don't want roots anywhere close to the pipelines that are underground either. So we generally do not install any sort of landscaping within the fenced area. And then in terms of the noise, having the valves and the regulator inside of a building will kind of help in that regard. If there was any noise, it would be pretty much contained within the building. This does have a heater, Embria, is that correct? There's a heater located to the west side of the building as well. I'm not going to tell you that it's completely silent. It does not a loud noise, but it hums.
generators or anything?
No generators, no compressors, nothing of that nature.
That gas heater is above grade.
It is. Basically, it sounds like your furnace. It's just a bigger furnace.
The building's from the property line's a little more than 50 feet, right?
From the west property line,
It was on the sheet 5.
yeah,
A little more than
50.4.
50 feet.
Amber Reddy, I'm the project engineer on this job. One thing I do want to speak to with the heater is just to note, this will be on in winter months when people typically aren't outside, so that's just one thing I want to point out, where there will be added noise. It'll be in a not summertime when it's beautiful out and your kids are out playing, so.
Do you have anything to add?
Sure. So as the applicant stated, they are requesting two variances. One is for the reduced setbacks on the front and the rear of the building, and the second is for the fence and wall standards. That is actually, can be waived by the planning commission, as I noted in my review, but in the absence of a planning commission, because this is considered an essential service, and so it is subject to an administrative review. Based on my concern for additional input, I have put it to you to approve that requested variance for the front fence height instead of, in the absence of the planning commission on that. I will also say that the applicant has complied with a few things that the township requested. One being the vinyl coating on the fence to upgrade the look of the fence, where the more standard is just the chain link fence without the vinyl coating. Additionally, we requested that they upgrade the facade of the structure, and they agreed to that as well to add the brick veneer to the outside to give that a nicer appearance. Those are my comments.
Board member comments? Thank you. Moving on to Article 17.8C standards. And when reviewing the request for variance, the following standards for determining practical difficulty shall be considered, with no single factor being determined. Number one, strict compliance with regulations governing area setback, frontage, height, bulk, density, and other non-use matters will unreasonably prevent the owner from using the property for a permitted purpose or render ordinance conformity unnecessarily burdensome. Board member comments? Apply, doesn't apply? Yes,
I don't know if this is directly related to your question, but I have one question. Another question is there any type of other than a fence to be put up there? Is that at all possible? Has that been researched?
When you say anything other, or like a screening wall?
Of
Or-
some sort? Is there any other options that are available for that? So,
Not in to meet the goals and the design guidelines that are kind of thrust upon us.
so that's not standard practice for your
Not for a
this
wall,
type of
no.
facility?
The typical silver grayish chain link fence, as I erroneously mentioned earlier, with the barbed wire is the typical. The upgrade in this particular case was no barbed wire and the vinyl coating. So
In other situations like this, where it's in the center of town, it's residential and behind it, as well as the main thoroughfare of town, have you done any other facilitization besides a vinyl coated chain link fence?
we have.
And what would that fence be?
That would be like an aluminum wrought iron type fence. That's
But you still see through it?
correct.
but it's a little more decorative.
Yes, it's a decorative fence.
That's not gonna help what I'm
It's
just-
not gonna screen it, correct?
Yeah, I'm trying to screen it, and if I could go through all the resources to say that we can't go any further, then we go.
And something I failed to mention, and your consultant did, is we upgraded the facade of the building to try to help soften it as well. Typically, it's a metal
wrote that down.
pole barn, and then in this particular case, it's a brick building, or brick facade.
Yes, thank you.
So going back to strict compliance, I mean, obviously the parcel's narrow.
Yep.
It's a small piece of property.
Yep.
2 frontages on front yards, so I think it probably does render it really unnecessarily burdensome. Number 2, the need for the variance will do substantial, the variance will do substantial justice to the applicant as well as other property owners. Say we do justice to the owner.
And not to the other property owners.
It's classified essential service.
Yeah. All right, number 3, the lesser variance, then the request will not give substantial release to the applicant, it will not be more consistent with justice to other property owners. Configuration, I don't know if there is a lesser variance, to the building size and what they're required, or heavily regulated by what they can't do.
Right.
Number 4, the need for the variance is due to the unique circumstances peculiar to the property and not generally applicable in the area or to other properties in the same zoning district.
It's definitely due to the unique circumstances of this piece of property.
The size and the setback requirements.
It's unique.
And it's
They'd apply.
And finally, the problem and resulting need for the variance is not self-created by the applicant or the applicant's predecessors.
It's essential service.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I have
Yes, sir.
one question.
Yep.
The upgrade from the chain link to the other type of fence, is that more maintenance for you folks?
I wouldn't say that it's any more maintenance, with the vinyl coated, obviously, we're not painting it, the chain link itself. It's just a matter of, it's one, expense, and then secondly, if someone, were to, say along the ACO side, back into it, it's a much more expensive repair than chain link's obviously, gonna give a little bit. Yeah.
People behind you.
Getting all fired up here. The chain link will get, unless they hit a pole, of course, the chain link will give a little bit where the,
Is this a substantial change in cost?
honestly, I don't know in this particular case, because, per lineal foot, I'm not sure how much it would be.
Yeah, because I share your comments. If it was somewhere located off of Lapeer Road, I wouldn't have the same type of concern.
No.
But it's right there.
It's,
I drove by it today, I'm like, oh.
we're gonna get
Yeah,
lots
me
of
too.
knocks on our door.
Yeah.
It depends what you consider a substantial difference in cost.
It's more money.
It's-
We won't-
I'm on this side of the fence, you're on that side of the fence.
That's true, that's very true. That's very true.
Literally and figuratively.
Your considerations are, this is something that planning commission could ask. Considerations are accepted.
Okay,
Yes.
all right, so we can only talk about the setback and the height. Okay,
Yeah.
you should sit.
Why did you work through that? I wanted you to work through that.
You're a planning commission guy.
And I should also mention that the, this is simultaneously going as well, along with the planning commission's process. Planning commission has not heard this yet. So this will be at the next planning commission meeting. They're, as an essential service, we know that they, well, I'm sorry, actually administrative review, so it's not going to planning commission, so, yeah.
it's administrative
So,
review.
right.
But could we not put that as a condition? Replace condition
For approving the variances,
for approving the variance of the condition of upgrading the process.
right.
That's something we can do. Right?
Would that go along with the height?
I don't know off the top of my head. Yeah.
We can place conditions in, it's permitted. permissible.
Right, but on something that this is not direct, I mean, it's directly related because it's the same, it's a fence, but it's not, it doesn't change the height of it, so it doesn't change the variance, it doesn't lessen the variance or decrease it.
I think the residents would appreciate making this as aesthetically pleasing as possible, as well as
Yes.
the M24 view.
I would agree.
Mr. Chair, just one point I wanted to point out with the metal wrought iron type fence, that typically comes at a 6-foot height as well. I can't say that it normally comes at a 7. Not say we can't get it in a 7. That would be something I'd have to look into to find out, one, if our security division would allow a 6-foot wrought iron, and secondly, how much, or what is the lead time on a 7-foot? Because it would have to, not be custom made, but we'd have to find it.
I'm sure it's not a stock item for sure.
Are you going from 6 to 7 to eliminate the barbed wire?
No, 7 would be the normal, and then barbed wire would be another foot on top of that, would be 8 overall if we did barbed wire. Sir?
Well, we have a motion. Don, we have a motion.
Do you want to ask for the upgrade?
I would personally like to, yes.
How does the board feel? Or do I have to have a motion?
No, we can.
Well,
In the motion.
definitely the wrought iron fence,
The aluminized type fence.
yes,
It's aluminum, it's black aluminum.
okay.
Wood.
But without the barbed wire. Yeah.
We've worked very hard with Stone's Hardware at the planning commission level, and they're good neighbors. And they have done everything above and beyond what they asked for and committed to. And I'd like to make sure, not that you wouldn't, but I'd like to aesthetically make that more appealing, the fencing and that corner. It's a difficult corner. I'm concerned about the limestone coming off the tires going in and out of the facility. They're gonna redo the M24 there and the approach. And that is a rough intersection right now.
In terms of going in and out, this site will very rarely be visited, if you will. I mean, not once a year, but
And I do the trade-off, leave the limestone in with limited service to get the fence, the upgrade in the fence.
well, we couldn't do anything other than limestone. We cannot pave the inside of
Well,
it.
you had pictures of it, that's, when you gave us this picture, this is paved.
The drive
I believe.
approach.
Yeah, the drive approach.
Mhm. Well, that would be up to the road commission. It's in the right of way. That wouldn't be a township.
Well, from the gates opening in, you would park on gravel?
Correct, we do not pave inside the fence ever.
Okay, then this picture misled me. on that.
That's the approach up to it,
Yes,
right, within the road right of way. We
And
do
it's paved.
sometimes pave those
okay,
when required by whoever the road agency is.
okay.
Can I ask,
Yes, sir.
what, inside the fence, is it grass,
It's
limestone,
limestone from fence to fence.
fence to fence?
Yep.
Okay.
For a couple of reasons. One, maintenance. Secondly, if we have to repair any of the pipe underground, we don't want to dig up asphalt every time, so the gravel stays.
Okay. And is it visited quite a lot? What's a typical site visit on this type of a?
Once a month, if that. Yeah, they'll come check the valves just to make sure they're operational and doing what they're supposed to do. But this is not something that somebody's going to visit daily.
And is it maintained once a month, once a week? I mean, if there's weeds and,
It gets sprayed on a regular basis. To make, because we don't want anything growing in there either.
I believe our planner has
Yes.
some research for us.
I have. Yes, you can request that the upgrade of the fence.
Is that part of the condition?
As a condition, that it would be designed to protect the social and economic well-being of those who use the building, land, or activity, and residents and landowners immediately residing adjacent to it.
So we can, as a condition.
Shall I make a motion?
If you are so inclined, I'll take a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the two issues that they had. One was the reduce the setback from M24. And the second is to approve the height of the fence, as long as we go with the aluminum slash, what do I call that? Wrought iron design. And that would be 7 foot with no barbed wire.
We have a motion, we have
Second.
a motion and seconded. Any discussion on the motion?
Yeah, I think on the front, M24, we have a met compliance there, right? 85 feet, it's asking for 35.
Yes.
Side 8.4, it's required 20.
No, to his motion. Mention.
And there's also a front on Minnetonka, right? 8.5,
A very
required
small
35, so I think you mentioned the M24 only, right? Or we can add the Minnetonka.
We'll include both of them in the motion.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
Nold,
Yes.
Bailey,
Yes.
Walters,
Yes.
Butler,
Yes,
and yes. Motion carries.
thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your cooperation. Moving on, item 7C. ZBA 0419, 655 North Lapeer Road, parcels 04, 22, 101,004. The applicant is Kaiser Industries Incorporated, 10200 South Kedzie Avenue, Evergreen Park, Illinois. The owner is McDonald's USA LLC, 110 North Carpenter Street, Chicago, Illinois, 60607. Proposed electronic outdoor menu board replacement at the McDonald's restaurant. Subject parcel is located in a C2 commercial zoning district. The approval of the application as submitted will require a variance according to ordinance 67A, article 9.8K, electronic message signs. Is the applicant here? Please, forward. Name and address for the record, and tell us what your request.
My name's Michelle Freeman. I'm with Kaiser Industries. The address actually has changed. We just relocated, so it's 9015 South Kedzie. Everything else is the same, Evergreen Park, Illinois.
Good evening.
Good evening. So as you read in the report, what McDonald's is looking to do with this project, they call it the ODMB Outdoor Digital Menu Board Project. They're implementing this nationwide. So we're one of 5 integrators that are doing the project. If you've seen some of the McDonald's have already had like the full MRP, like the remodel. So if you've gone in, you may have seen like the self-order kiosks or the digital menu boards indoors, and they're just taking those same boards and moving them outdoor to the drive-through menu boards. So right now, you see the ones that are like 4 panels, and I can plug in if you want to see something. I have a PowerPoint. I don't know if you need to or not. But, it's your standard 4-panel menu boards. They're manual change copy, so you have to manually change the paper inside, and then they also either have to go out and flip them during menu changes, or they have a button that's on some of them, and they can electronically just flip, or automatically flip, I guess you could say. And what they're doing now is the way that the menu boards are set up is they're basically like an LCD screen. So they're about almost half the size, display area, smaller than what they were. There is an existing, what they call a pre-browse or a pre-sell currently at this location, but I think part of it is some of the zoning and the way that it is, or the placement where it would be. We propose to not replace that one, because the standard actually is, for most McDonald's, is we're replacing the menu boards and then replacing and or adding pre-browse, so it's 2 and 2. But we are opting not to do that at this one for a number of reasons. I think when we worked with Lori and Deanna. I think what else? ordinance, I believe, currently the way that these are classified as electronic copy, I'm trying to look and see, it's different in every municipality. Electronic message board allows for 50% of the total board, and these are 100% digital. The brightness, there's automatic dimmer controls, and a sensor that adjusts naturally or automatically to natural light, ambient lighting. So if you want the nip measurements, it goes as low as, it's preset to go as low, dim as low as 500 or go as high as 2,500. That's the max it can do. I don't think is this all that you guys had? Is this? If yeah, because I have some, like I said, I can plug in and show you photos, kind of like what the boards actually look like, daytime, nighttime vision, if you want to see it. I think that's all I have. I'm available for questions.
Any questions of the applicant?
These will not be facing them, excuse me, Mr. Chairman, please.
Yep, go ahead.
These won't be facing 24, they'll be facing more, my understanding of the site plan is facing more towards Legacy.
Yes.
Away from M24, and not directly into the housing behind it.
Correct. The way that they're positioned now, the only difference is they do get new foundations because the boards are smaller, and with the lighting, they're a little bit more, McDonald's like say, intimate with the customer, so they are moved a little bit closer to the order, I can't think of the order display, customer order display post, but yeah, they will be positioned and angled in towards the drive-through and not extended out.
So they're roughly 40% smaller. Does that mean the physical sign will reduce in size that's out there?
Yes, because the display area now, I want to say, all over the board, they're about 80 square feet, and, no, 47 square feet, the existing ones, and now they're about 20 square feet.
And they'll change, obviously, during times, breakfast, lunch.
Correct, and possibly, so yeah, there's some areas, and they can change, but that's the intent, is just menu change, so I don't want to, if I need to define it, we can, but currently it is usually breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but sometimes stores will do like a snack menu or a late night menu. So just like they manually change it now, would be the same for the digital. That's the intent.
Well, how many communities are you aware that we deal with menu boards for signage? Is this because it just falls in the electronic?
It's because it's electronic. It's actually permitted, it's permitted without, or it's allowed without a permit. This is signage that's allowed without a permit
Right.
within their measurements, within the dimensions, and they fall within those dimensions, so they wouldn't even need to, this wouldn't come to anyone.
Just the fact it's an
Electronic,
Yeah, more than 50%.
right.
I have a
Yeah.
question.
Sure.
These are permanent, this isn't a test?
No, these
site?
are permanent. We've already implemented them all over. I was trying to look and see, I had my associate do it, some community areas, but we really are just starting to install here, but they've done a few in Detroit. I'll be back here at Ortonville, because there's a couple of things with digital in the area, but yeah, so we're starting to put them in all over. That's why you may be traveling through Michigan and see quite a few that we've actually implemented or installed already.
There's no animation or anything like that that may offend the neighbors behind.
No, they're not. There's no intent at this time. McDonald's has not said, and the way that the boards work too, they don't have, the owner operators don't have immediate control. That's what they like about the digital, is that the content is uploaded. There's like another vendor company, so one company builds them, and Stratacache does the content that McDonald's feeds them, and then they do uploads. So they can't just go in, and unless they're like a crazy hack or something, computer hacker, but they're not programmed to have any digital, no video, no commercials, no music, nothing flashing. It's the same intent as now, but just having that digital component for the sustainability, no more paper. They won't have the toppers on the top that you see sometimes. They add all that crazy stuff. If they were even to try to like rig their own, because there's no component for them to attach them, they would void the warranty on the board. So I would hope that the owner operators would not choose to do that.
So we did get some pictures here. Is this the new proposed boards that you put in our packet?
May I approach?
Yes, absolutely.
No, this is all the existing signage.
Okay.
So if you you wanna see one, I have it, my own, where is it?
And do you recall how tall these existing
I believe they're 7 feet,
7 feet?
and these are shorter, they're like
So you're
5.97.
reducing like
The height as well.
40% of your sign.
The display sign area, right, and then the height as well.
6 is what's permitted, and they are under 6.
If you wanna see what they look like. And then, like, here's the menu example, something is all, what it's gonna look like, change. Here's, like a currently with the fluorescent lighting, the lumens, it's kind of bright, sometimes
dark,
a little glary, and so it's much more easily adjusted and controlled, so you don't get that same glare. Light put up, and here's existing, this site has these right now, and this is what the roof will look like.
Okay. Much smaller in size, right?
So essentially, there's signs that are permitted here without having permits, right? Just back to their electronic and whatever. Any other comments? It is now 7:40. We'll open up the floor for public comment. Anyone from the public who wishes to come forward and speak on this item, please do so. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing at 7:40 and move back to item 5, which is building and planner comments.
Yes. You all received my review. This is based on the 50% standard allowance, and these are 100%. I will say that if you have concerns about the lumens and the illumination of them, you do have those standards in the ordinance that they are required to comply with, so you do have that protection. They are smaller than what is currently out there, and they do comply with the dimensional standards.
Do they comply with the lumens, within the lumens
They will,
of the
yeah.
ordinance?
Yep.
Okay.
We'll move on to findings of fact. 17.8. Reviewing the request for a variance, following standard shall, for determining practical difficulty shall be considered, and most of the factor pertaining to strict compliance with, use restrictions regarding the setbacks, frontage, height, wall density, and other non-use standards will unreasonably prevent the owner from using the property for a permitted purpose or render ordinance compliance unnecessary. Any thoughts? Comments?
I think we're here just because it says electronic.
Yeah.
Yep.
I would agree. Moving on to the need for the variance, the variance would do substantial justice to the applicant as well as other property owners. Yeah, obviously it would, it probably will help the adjacent property owners, because those are rather big, sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I think that does apply.
I agree.
Unless a variance and requested will not give substantial release to the applicant, will be more consistent with justice to other property owners. And that's what we should apply. The need for the variance is due to unique circumstances peculiar to the property or not generally applicable to the area or to other property owners in the same zoning district.
It doesn't apply.
I agree. And the problem, the resulting need for the variance has not been self-created by the applicant or the applicant's predecessors.
It doesn't apply.
It does not
Doesn't
apply.
apply.
And this comes down to its electric board.
Yeah.
It's just electronic.
It's just an electric.
It's a word.
It's just a word. It's an interpretory thing. All right, with that, I would entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we allow the applicant at 665 North Lapeer Road, parcel 0422101004, Kaiser Industries, to add their proposed electronic outdoor drive-through menu board
I would second if you add with no animation.
with no animation.
Second.
Motion and support, seconded. Any other comments? Seeing none?
Walters?
Yes.
Nold?
Yes.
Bailey?
Yes.
Kane, yes. Butler?
Yes.
Motion passes. Carries.
Moving on to item number D.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Motion related to that first.
You're supposed to make the motion, I think.
I have it here if you want it.
Oh, thank you. Well, Mr. Walters is supposed to make the motion.
Oh.
Mr. Walters. You're supposed to second, sorry. So regarding this item, this has been in front of the planning commission, so we'll abstain from this. I will have to abstain from this because my company is doing the work for the applicant, so I will need to abstain from this work.
Okay.
Mr. Walters?
I'll make a motion to accept Chairman Butler and Member Knoll request to abstain from hearing and acting on ZBA 005.19. In the absence of Chairman Butler, appoint Vice Chairman Bailey to fill as chairman and alternate member Burt to sit in for Member Knoll.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Let's see. Anywhere you want.
Okay, item 7D, ZBA 005.19 vacant land parcel 04-35-200-004, applicant PEA, 2430 Rochester Court, Suite 100, Troy, Michigan, 48083, owner Trident Press 3, LLC, 3400 East Lafayette, Detroit, 48207, proposed construct a 49-unit site condominium with boulevard entrance. The subject property is located in an R1 single-family, 12,000 square foot minimum zoning district. Approval of this application, as submitted, would require variance according to zoning ordinance 67A, Article 11.3.C.2, private roads. Just to recap the same procedure, we'll go through the applicant statement, open the public hearing, comments from the public, then we'll close the public hearing, public administration comments, board member questions and comments, finding of facts, motion, final board member discussion and comments, and finally a vote. Is the applicant available?
Hi, my name is Bob Tedesco, and I am representing Trident Crest 3, located at 3400 East Lafayette, Detroit, Michigan. I will be the builder in the subdivision. My company is Silverado Homes. And the reason we're here tonight is we're seeking approval for the boulevard entry at the south end of this, on the south side of drain or entering the sub, which, by the way, this says private roads. It's actually going to be a public road. It's going to be dedicated to Oakland County. And that's one of the reasons we need, the main reason we need the boulevard entry. We don't have the site distance requirement for Oakland County roads to get a second entry into the subdivision.
Questions or
No questions?
information?
Well, I did a little bit of homework, and I spoke with two members of the planning commission, and I spoke with our fire chief, and the fire chief has recommended the boulevard entrance, so I feel comfortable with that.
Yes, we sat in front of them already, obviously.
Mhm.
Went through all the obstacles, and this
plan.
was the best way to accommodate.
You were denied by Oakland County the second entrance,
Yes.
correct? Yeah.
Yes, we were.
And can you show us where that would be in relationship to the property? 'Cause I'm not seeing it on your plan here.
Do you have the plan there?
Yeah.
I know it shows the one.
It's only showing one entrance. Yeah, off the public road. So where's the secondary road coming in?
There is no
That's the variance.
This is
The-
variance.
The county wouldn't, county road commission would not allow
It's
it.
supposed to have two means of egress.
Correct. And when there was some talk about another entrance coming in, somewhere else, maybe a private entrance or access to this gated for emergency vehicle only?
That was the original option.
And I didn't see it on here, yeah.
Yeah, he didn't want that option. He said they don't get
Okay.
maintained, they didn't want to mess with the rock.
Okay,
It becomes a weed mess, trees get overgrown.
Sure.
and He did not like that, so we don't show it because this is our final set of plans that we are submitting.
this is, and with all the corrections from the engineer,
Yes, it is.
township engineer as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, is that all the information you have?
Yeah, I think that's mostly everything.
Okay.
Okay?
Well, then what we'll do is, it is 7:49. What we'll do is we'll open up, for comments from the public.
Okay?
Anybody has any questions or concerns, please come to the podium and state your name.
Evening. My name is David Campbell. I live at 415 East Drainer. One of the four houses that is just west of where the subdivision is going in. This may be a bit off point to what you're trying to approve tonight, but we have real concerns about the road and what's happening there. Right now, Drainer is a racetrack. Our wonderful state legislature made that a 55-mile-an-hour zone. And I can stand out in my front yard and watch cars just flying by, and trucks also. The one good thing right now is the condition of the road sometimes gets to be terrible, and the potholes, and that does slow people down. Supervisor Dunn has talked about improvements to the road because of this subdivision, putting in new gravel, and our concern is that the speeds are going to go up, that the dust will go up, and make it more unlivable than it currently is at this point now. We're concerned about more than 100 cars a day going by our houses. So I don't know if anything, can be done about that tied with the subdivision, but we certainly would appreciate any help. We also have an autistic child living in one of our houses who is known to roam away from his house and could certainly walk out into that road, and it would pose a real hazard. So we'd like to be on record with that. Right now, Oakland County has come through. The Road Commission has been knocking down trees, supposedly under the premise that they're going to improve the drainage on the road and decrease the potholes. Again, that will increase the speeds and the dust. And we're very much opposed to that.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions from?
My name is John Nold. I'm here as a resident. I live at 684 Tanview Drive. I have a little understanding of the subdivision, and I have a little understanding of the efforts that were made for the second entrance, and I'm in favor of what they're doing with the boulevard. I think that's going to fit very nicely for this application. I also understand that they had another means, and that wasn't favorable to the fire chief. The fire chief approves this boulevard. And I do live on a street that is a cut-through street. I understand about the traffic, and that's something that needs to be noted as well as on Drainer Road.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, we will close the public hearing at 10:52. Any building administrator comments or concerns?
Sure. You all received my review, stating, of course, that the variance requested is based on section 11.3.c.2, that roads serving more than 20 lots or units must have two connections. The applicant has actually been to the planning commission twice for preliminary review of this, and they've looked at a couple of different options for what is possible, and like he said, the fire chief was not at all favorable with the emergency vehicle access road. And the fire chief stated that the boulevard entrance would be sufficient to provide emergency access, and enough room for turnarounds for the vehicles, and that they would be able to access the entire subdivision that way. This has come to you because it is required. The planning commission cannot waive it. It is required to have a variance. And I saw, as the applicant put into their submission, that Oakland County did state that the bend in the road is substantial enough that they cannot provide a second entrance on that eastern side of the property without reconfiguring the road, which would be at quite a cost to the applicant. And so we put it to you for the variance to approve the one entrance and to give them relief from that second.
Can you give us more insight on the May 21st email from Scott Sinkowski from Oakland County Road Commission? He said he has no issue with the westerly approach of the boulevard. Eastern Drive approach does not have sufficient corner distance. This approach if this approach would be included, it would need to be gated. So they're just declining the second entrance then. Is that clear? Is that how I'm reading that? Is that?
I believe there was a different portion that said that the road at the angle or at the,
Yeah, there is as well.
okay,
But this
at
is
the angle of the site, that it's not, the site distance isn't wide enough for an egress and ingress into the subdivision at that point.
Well, they need, 120 feet of visibility, which the S-curve does not give.
Right.
And even to put an emergency access so that you can access with fire, ambulance, things like that, that's where my concern was, and you brought up that Chief Schultz was in agreement. Those things don't get maintained, those
Right.
locks get
Right.
locked up. It actually winds up being more of a headache than it's worth.
He was concerned about the vehicle, or about the cost to the vehicle to,
Yeah.
Exactly.
To around the gates.
Yeah.
So, and even to put a second access, like where lot 11, lot 12 is, you don't have enough sight distance in either direction, so cars coming, it's just gonna cause accident after accident, in my opinion.
Yeah, the applicant satisfied the planning commission's request for a reconfiguration of the entrance, and that's where the boulevard entrance came in. It was not originally proposed like that, so with the boulevard entrance, there are the additional turnarounds provided, which, as I said, satisfied Chief Schultz.
Any other questions or comments? If not, we'll go through the findings of fact. Again, in reviewing a request for a variance, the following standards for determining practical difficulty shall be considered with no single factor being determinative. Number one, strict compliance with restrictions governing area, setback, frontage, height, bulk, density, and other non-use matters will unreasonably prevent the owner from using the property for a permitted purpose or will render the ordinance conformity unnecessarily burdensome.
Well, I think that's true.
I agree, and there's quite a lot of reconfiguring that they tried to
Yeah.
to accommodate the ordinance, and this was the best option that was agreed upon with the fire chief.
Number two, the variance will do substantial justice to the applicant as well as other property owners.
Well, I don't know about other property owners, but definitely for themselves, it does.
I think it does, and I think it will increase the property value for those other property owners as well.
Yes, I agree.
And that density's, compatible or, in harmony with other R1 districts
Yes.
as well, right?
Absolutely.
And with that many houses going in, you know, the county's gonna start patrolling that a little more often, which I think will cut down the speed issue. Okay. Number 3, a lesser variance than requested will not give substantial relief to the applicant and will not be more consistent with justice to other property owners.
Well, I think the fact that they went twice, they've redesigned it twice, I think, kind of shows that it wouldn't.
The need for the variance is due to the unique circumstances peculiar to the property and not generally applicable in the area or to other properties in the same zoning district.
That's true because of the S-curve.
Correct.
Yeah, it's unique. You have,
And with the wetlands, I don't think they could reconstruct that road if they wanted to.
no, and that secondary access just wasn't
No.
something that we can maintain for long-term maintenance.
The problem, the resulting need for the variance has not been self-created by the applicant and or the applicant's predecessors.
Nope.
Okay. Any other board discussion, or do we have a motion?
In the matter, ZBA matter 00519, vacant land parcel 435200004, applicant PEA 2430 Rochester Court, Suite 100, Troy, Michigan, owner Trident Crest 3 LLC, 3400 East Lafayette. I propose construct of a 49-unit site condominium with a boulevard entrance. The subject property is located in an R1 single-family, 1,200 square foot minimum zoning district of this on the south side of Drainer, west of Lapeer. I approve this application as submitted, or I move to approve this application as submitted.
Okay, we have a motion,
I second.
we have a second.
Walters?
Yes.
Payne, yes. Birch?
Yes.
Bailey?
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you very much. Okay. And with that, we do have more to discuss. Do we need a motion to hand it back over to Mr. Butler?
Let's see, let me check.
I don't think so. We just,
It just says Chairman Bailey turns the gavel back over to,
Okay. It's all yours, sir.
thank you for your
Gavel back.
services.
nice job.
Move on to item E, ordinance interpretation request regarding what is to be considered as a principal buildings floor area. Connor has some advice.
Thank you. So, as, in the memo that I sent to you, or that Deanna sent to you, it hopefully clarifies for you the contradictory statements that our ordinance makes, specifically 6.2C and F, that attached accessory buildings and structures shall be considered part of a principal building for purposes of determining conformance with area, setback, height, and lot coverage requirements, and then that the total floor area of all attached and detached accessory buildings shall not exceed the total floor area of the main dwelling, meaning that they shall not be taken into consideration of the primary structure. And concern, this is something that I have had to deal with a number of times, and the practice has been that it is not taken into consideration with the primary structure, and that I calculate it separately as an accessory structure, and I have concerns about that.
When you say in practice, you've you've done it that way. In practice for Oxford, that's the way it's done?
So in practice for Oxford, I was advised when I came here that that is how it had been decided previously. And so to be consistent with how it had been done, I continued that practice so that we were not changing. And being that the ordinance so clearly contradicts itself, it's really up to the precedent set as to, determine how it should be carried out. But more recently, I've encountered more questions about this by residents. The variance that was postponed tonight is one of them that may or may not change depending on what you decide tonight. And there's a couple of things that you should take into consideration when thinking about this. So the square footage of the lots within this area is these contradictory statements are specifically, as you see in F there, R1A, R1, R2, and R3. In the size variation in those parcels is great. If we were in a more urban area and those were smaller parcels, I think would be fully appropriate for it to be taken, an attached garage to be considered part of the accessory square footage. And that would be because you wouldn't want just big barns on property. But there are a number of large lots still within these districts that would be fully suitable to have a pole barn or some sort of equipment enclosure where you would keep a boat, a camper, yard equipment, things like that. And I think that when you take the attached garage square footage and add it to the accessory structure square footage, you are decreasing, sometimes significantly, what that resident can build on their property.
We've dealt with that, yeah.
Yeah.
True enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing about that is that you have a total lot coverage percentage that's permitted in each of these that has been determined, that really safeguards the district and the parcels within those districts from being overbuilt. So this additional protection is not really a protection. So that is my question to you, is whether we should take the attached, it's specifically only attached that I'm talking about, attached garages, and take that square footage and add it to the accessory structure square footage that would be permitted on a lot, or if it should be added to the primary structure square footage when calculating what would be allowed, or do we not include it in either? I'll tell you, the county does not include it. When they, in equalization, they do not include it into the livable area, taxable area of a residence.
Right.
It's not included. So when I calculate what is out there, I have to go look at it and measure how large the garage is to take it into consideration.
So as an accessory, would it not be added?
As an accessory, I would still do that, but I would then take it, I would subtract that amount from the primary structure square footage, and then that would be what would be allowed as an accessory structure.
You're saying the county
Purposes of taxation.
calls it an accessory structure, or they don't count
They
it
don't
at
count
all?
it, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. Well, because they
It's
don't
just
do
livable
basements
area.
either. They
Right,
don't do
exactly.
So
basements
just
either.
the primary, that's
They
what
just do primary.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. The other thing is driving around, and just to take into consideration, I worked up an example of this, but it's on my computer in the office, which I'm happy to get if anybody wants to look at it. But many homes have attached garages that are a part of the home, that are a part of the primary structure. And I was struck when I started out here that it was considered an accessory structure, even though it was attached to the primary home. So it is my recommendation that it would be considered part of the primary home and not as an accessory structure. I think it makes sense for it to be considered part of that. It also makes sense as for it not to be considered part of that, because that would increase the allowable square footage of the accessory structure if you were trying not to go larger than that. However, if it is attached, it would still safeguard you from having a pole barn larger than the home, because you couldn't with them added together. It could be equal, which is what the ordinance says, but it could not be larger.
I think that's probably what we all want to get to. We don't have that.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
it came up in the ORC meeting, ordinance review meeting,
Yeah.
this topic, and the ordinances are going to be reviewed. And from the conversations that we had there, the roof line, so the attached accessory structure should be considered part of the building within the total lot coverage within the district that it resides in. And that was kind of the consensus of the Tom Berger, our building inspector.
Yeah.
And it would be easier to handle and manage that way if we had a direction from this board upward, or a position from this board upward.
I think that's, you know, we've struggled with that a few times.
Yeah,
And it's-
I'd like to get it
and I think
clear.
it's straightforward and make,
Yeah.
make your job a lot easier, number one. I think it'd be a lot easier, in my opinion,
For us.
for us.
Yeah.
Well, so, is it not, is it?
Yeah, flipping through the ordinance.
Yeah, and and I will say that this really is, my question to you is really to just clarify for the next couple of cases that we have, because the ordinance review committee is going to amend the ordinance. They're going to make the change. And really what the change could be, if done the most simply, would be to take out the word attached from F. That's it. The words attached to and is what it would be. So that detached accessory buildings,
Just out
Shall
of out of F,
Yes.
6.2F?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because C already says that they shall be considered part of it. So that's how they contradict and how it would be cleaned up the easiest. But like I said, I have 2 calls. I have 2 residents waiting to find out what your answer is tonight. And then that other,
Okay.
the other case, that'll be heard next month.
So the main dwelling, under F, the main dwelling would include, if it had an attached garage, would include the garage.
Yes.
Okay, so I make a motion.
So essentially, what accessory building in that interpretation, in that understanding, if this is that garage, that's as big as the
Right.
accessory building.
Mm,
Well, many homes have an attached or detached garage and house, but then they put a breezeway or some,
Then that would be attached.
so now it's attached,
Right.
right? So
Yeah.
And we had
If it's
discussed-
enclosed, I will say. If it's enclosed, if it's just a,
It's enclosed, right?
Right.
It has to be
Yeah.
enclosed.
right,
But there are some that aren't, right?
right.
And then we also had discussions previously about floor space, if we include the wall or not. Remember that?
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
That was,
So we were all twisted and,
I'll be nice and not go into detail.
so, I mean, I don't know if that's a discussion of this topic, but when we're looking at floor space, should we be looking at the outside or the inside walls or?
I believe that the county calculates it from the inside.
Inside.
Yeah.
Okay. Write that down.
Usable floor area.
Usable,
Mhm,
okay.
mhm,
Okay.
mhm, Inside. Yep.
I think we had a porch on that one too, and it wasn't usable inside.
Yeah, so my question for you then tonight is just moving forward through the next couple of cases, and, you know, certainly to set the precedent for how it shall be decided until the, yes, ordinance amendment, is to alter, well, to consider the garage, the unattached garage, as part of a principal structure or part of an accessory structure.
So just to clarify, if I have a 1,000 square foot house and a 400 square foot garage, that gives me 1,400 square feet.
Correct. If you say it's part of the
If I had a
principal.
1,000 square foot house and a 200 square foot garage, I could build a bigger pole barn,
Then I could.
same size lot, same everything.
Yeah.
I could,
But
Well,
we've
you're
run
under the
across that
percentage.
before,
right.
remember?
And-
It's just the way it is.
It's just the way it is, right. And for example, I mean, in the example that I have, it's a R3 district, the acre is 1.1 acres, or the parcel is 1.1 acres. The house is only, like 1,200 square feet, but they have an attached garage that is like almost 500 square feet. So they can only build a 700 square foot pole barn on over an acre parcel, which would be totally appropriate to have a larger pole barn to hold their items, and maybe more attractive than to have all of these recreation things out on their yard.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't be able to do it.
Okay, that makes sense.
So what do you need from us, a motion?
I do, yes, a motion, please, as to how it shall be.
Would this interpretation have anything to do with any taxing at all?
No, it won't change on how the county calculates the livable area. Nope, it's just based on how I will approve the accessory structure submittals application.
I move that until such time as the ordinance review committee makes the recommended changes, that the zoning board of appeals treats section 6.2 accessory buildings and structures, section F, to read area in relation to principal building, the total floor area of all detached accessory buildings in R1A, R1, R2, and R3 zoning districts shall not exceed the total floor area of the main dwelling on the same lot.
I second.
Any discussion?
Bailey?
Yes.
Nold?
Yes.
Walters?
Yes.
Payne, yes. Butler?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Good enough. Moving on to item 8, board member comments. Comments? Moving for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?